how do you price your service?
And I'll tell you, we're very expensive. You know why we're very expensive? Because someone like you is greatly skeptical and think it'll be not valuable. And when we show you it's very valuable, we expect you to pay us a lot of money.
The value proposition is clear, but damn, they are expensive. We are so confident we are taking the market that we are not rushing into monetizing everything.
This we talked about this a while ago. If the street tanks at 30% because they don't like that Carp says, hey, we're letting them take their time, we'll get them eventually, that's when we should buy the fucking dip.
Look, honestly, I was also surprised and a bit disappointed by the number of new customers acquired in last quarter, because as we can see from here, despite on the revenue side there is a clear before AAP, after AAP in terms of revenue growth, in terms of like customer count and customers growth, we don't really see that. And there are like two situations that come to my mind. Maybe there are more, but it's like, okay, maybe there is some motion that is not as good as we think it was, or maybe they are still running a lot of customers for free or not like really classified as customers yet. And I'm thinking of this situation more thanks to a couple of comments I received on a post I made last week. I was talking with Salesforce Business Development today. They will not let me try Einstein or Agentforce without a commitment up front to buy licenses. Should the trial show the value? I hope it might.
Wow, so, I didn't know that. Wow.
And that triggered my thinking into what Carp said time ago. Oh, when you sell promises, you want to be paid up front. When you deliver value, you can still wait. And wait a second, like what happens if many people are into that phase where you can wait? And then the same guy, Cybernetic Papacy, wrote, meanwhile, we are in month 5 of having Foundry and AAP post-boot camp, but pre-sale. It's like, what are you really meaning with that? It's like you're monetizing, but you don't really have like the full contract. How are you approaching that as Palantir, as investor? Like, is this considered a customers or not? We don't really understand that. But this comment made me think that essentially there could be like a big number where we are not we are delivering value, we are setting the base for huge potential contracts, but they are not entering the number yet. So I'm looking for a comment right now.
While you're finding that, I would agree with you. This is one of my most favorite things that Carp says is like, when you don't have something valuable, you want to get paid before you give it, right? It's like every business. That's how there's a reason free trials are free, because they believe their product is so good that they'll keep you after they give you a free couple months. And if you can't give someone a free trial and you only need money, then it's probably because you're not that good.
Yeah, thanks to Rick that asked that question. Okay, but what do you mean with pre-sale? And this guy answered, well, we haven't made an official purchase yet. We are working on the business use cases to justify right now.
And he's in month 5, which is incredible, right?
Month 5. So imagine like how many potential customers in month 5 after bootcamp there are that Carp says, oh, you know what? We are so confident we are taking the market that we are not rushing into monetizing everything.
This we talked about this a while ago. If the street tanks at 30% because they don't like that Carp says, hey, we're letting them take their time, we'll get them eventually, that's when we should buy the fucking dip. Because that's when Carp's basically saying, guys, they're gonna join, but we gotta give them our Palantir magic, and then there's gonna be one quarter in a year, maybe a year and a half, where it's like 200 clients, because like that's how it would scale. That's what happened with NVIDIA in a different sector, but ultimately that's what happened with
keep that in mind. We will get to net dollar retention and tie back. So everyone remember what we just talked about, but still, like, just quick comment, isn't half a year kind of crazy though?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it, when you're an enterprise that has a lot of money on the line with a lot of data, I feel like it takes time to make that decision.
Yeah, and he did comment. I mean, I assume that they have been quoted for like AIP, And we've been wondering, like, okay, what's AIP monetization gonna look like? Obviously, they're gonna charge a lot for AIP, because if we look at the guy's comment, he explicitly wrote, "Damn, they are expensive." So it seems like Papa Carp does have some sort of monetization strategy in mind, after all.
But this
So
is
we'll
this is what
see when that
Spotify
starts
did.
hitting.
Spotify, the only Swedish company that actually produced anything valuable. Shout out to Amir.
IKEA.
What do you
I don't
say?
know. IKEA. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, IKEA.
There are a few, man.
But I remember buying Spotify for $5 a month in college with a Hulu subscription. I got both of them for $5 a month. Now they ended up not keeping me because I went into YouTube Music, but like the amount of millions of people they kept just by giving them $5 a month, they showed losses to the street year after year after year. Now Spotify is a $50 billion company, stocks up almost 10x or something because they ended up keeping those users. I think if Palantir takes this approach to B2B SaaS, I am more than happy with them tanking 50% and just waiting for these users to come.
Like it has, like AIP has certainly demonstrated to people that AI is more than just a chatbot, and that you can embed LLMs as digital reasoning in the back end of workflows and automation. The value proposition is clear, but damn, they are expensive. Do you think these, oh damn, they are expensive, should be considered a plus or a potential problem for the scale?
I think it's a plus. Like we just mentioned, that they went from no strategy to obviously now having a strategy for pricing AIP, because when you can really prove the value. I mean, we've had. Do you remember when there was an outrage when this Korean guy asked Carp on stage, like, "Why are you so expensive?" Like, do you remember that? Yeah. It was like outrage. Well, he's like, "Well, if I make it this much money," like we come back to this, like, okay, do you care if you're paying 5 billion per year for a software if that software makes you 10 billion? Like, if you can increase efficiency, if you can really show the value, then like the actual price tag isn't too relevant. I
agree.
When you just look at like what you're getting out of it, like it will still be worth the proposition, like will still be worth the investment. But I'm happy to see it. So to answer your question, yes, I think it's positive, going from having no clue what they're going to do with AIP. I mean, the notion was we're going for the whole market, and that's what they've been doing, because to date, we haven't really seen AIP monetization show up in the numbers, meaningfully at least. And now when we actually have some comments that, well, they are actually pricing it pretty steeply, I think that's positive, especially because we know from customers themselves that AIP is really changing how they operate their business. So I think it's justified and a net positive for sure, in my opinion.
Okay, I could be wrong. My thought is being expensive was very like a real problem when the solution was not very scalable, like when you needed a lot of human work, and when Palantir Foundry was essentially a monolith. But if it is expensive, but you can easily, rapidly see value unlocked, if in these 5 months, you can literally show, okay, look, we save you 50 million, then you could seriously think, okay, let's start the next year with like a 15 million contract. Imagine this at scale. If there are like many customers exactly in this situation, there could be like a potential bump in the next quarters.
Matt, any final thoughts on, is it worth paying? I mean, you work at a company that uses Palantir. Is it worth paying for, even if it's expensive?
I think so. I think the thing that people may forget is generally the reason why Palantir gets sold within an organization is the first use case. And I think what people don't necessarily recognize is the follow-on cases in the infiltration within the organization, the net dollar retention piece, the ability to continue that longevity. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that, at least from my perspective, and it seems like from what I've seen from Foundry cons as well as AIP cons, they have the same sort of perspective, at least from my point of view. Once you kind of build this into your daily operating systems and your daily way of working, it's going to be very sticky and very hard to move off of it. And you, generally speaking, hear very few people, once you actually start using the software, to deviate from it. Of course, there's been cases where there's been I guess, uncovering of corruption and things of the like within the organization. They said, "Oh, these guys, they can get too much," right? And I've seen that. And I'm not going to name any specific companies, not my company, so don't go digging there. But I think what it might be for a lot of people is the sticker shock, and eventually, and Karp said this very early on. I haven't heard him say it in a little bit. Is people will say no, not yet, not yet, but then in 18, 24, maybe 36 months, they're knocking on the door again to say, you guys are right, we'll pay. Right. And I think that there's still probably a laundry list of folks out there that will do that. And we have yet to see that. You have to think, if these companies are willing to pay the amount of money that they're paying for cloud services, right? Why wouldn't they be willing to basically ontologize and literally get all that data that's on the cloud working, right? When you think about cloud, that's it's compute, it's a little bit of with respect to storage, you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars a year, but yet we're at 2.75 billion for fiscal year 2024 for Palantir. This is very early, and in my opinion, if you're going to be able to monetize all of that data, this is going to be something that hopefully gets into the 40, 50, maybe even larger $1 billion range down the road. So we're hopefully talking about a 10 to 20x of revenue compared to where we are today. So to me, very early in its infancy. Anything that anybody says against it is a sticker shock, and eventually they'll come knocking on the door.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah, we got CodeStrap right here. Says the actual compute costs are expensive on paper, but not when you apply activities-based costing. The more important part of that thread is the investment in upskilling and widespread adoption. I think he's 100% correct.
Well, it's the same thing reasoning. When you purchase a good computer, it is expensive. But what if with that computer you can unlock a lot more value, a lot of productivity? It is expensive, but the value that you are getting, if that far exceeds the cost, you can say that is not worth it.